Hey guys, welcome back to another breakdown of Legion. This is episode 7, chapter 26, and Greg is back from time traveling.
Hello, hi.
How was it?
It was great.
Yeah?
Very hot.
Still have all your teeth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, awesome. Guys, let's break down the episode. Obviously, there are a ton of spoilers ahead, so watch the episode, then come right back.
Okay, so evidently on Legion this week, we return to the Xavier household with Gabrielle at the very beginning. It looks like we're going back to episode 3, a little bit of that, but also time travel's involved now, which is pretty damn cool.
Yeah, we knew that David wasn't going to go to the same exact location, but he wants to go back to an even different location where Charles was. Yeah, we didn't get to see this part before, so this is really cool in this episode. We get to see all the details of what Charles was doing in Morocco while his wife was kind of going a little bit crazy back at home.
He's in hell. Now, right from the jump, maybe not even 5 minutes into the episode, Xavier's putting on Cerebro, and immediately you get the bullfighter and the bull that's made out of, like, it looks like, I don't know what they made this out of, but it's awesome. And at the same time, I'm thinking, is he, from this point on, is everything that's happening in this episode part of the astral plane? Is he still sitting in that chair and Cerebro going, what the hell's going on? Or did, Shadow King move him out?
Well, I thought obviously he makes that connection early on when he has Cerebro on with the Shadow King, that he kind of doesn't know who it is, right, or what it is, but he knows there's an entity like him, right?
Yes.
This is the first time that he's come across like another mutant. And then like he sees that vision, and for me it just kind of gave me an idea of like, hey, there's going to be a big showdown coming down the pipe here. That it's kind of foreshadowing like this big fight, and it's revealed that he is the bull on the ground. So it kind of put me on my toes, like, uh-oh, watch out, like his life is in danger,
for this
entire episode. And then we see him like on the flight, obviously, over there, so we know that he's kind of, whether it's daydreaming or in his sleep, he's seeing visions of what is out there and what's to come.
So great about the edit too, because you can't tell. I don't believe that it's all from a dream. He's in the astral plane the second he put on the Cerebro. I don't think that's the case, but the edit doesn't give you any help. It makes sure to let you know, no, this could all be a dream. You have no idea. Now,
in that vision that he's having when he's watching that performance, the Shadow King does like sit next to him and says those magic words, you shouldn't have came.
And this series in general with the Shadow King has done an incredible job just showing how powerful he is, but just being subtle with it, not having to show anything else, just the tiny things, the details, like when Charles gets there, when Charles arrives to Morocco, immediately there's a man there with a big painting of him, because the second he made that link to an Omega level mutant, he knew everything about him.
And I think it shows the discrepancy between what Charles and his powers are and then the Shadow King at the same time, right? The Shadow King is
so
kind of a different level.
He's so green to everything
right now. Charles is so green, and just like he's already waiting for him, and he knows. And then Charles is like, "What? Who are you? What king? A king is waiting for me." And as soon as you hear that, you know the Shadow King like has the kind of the jump on him and kind of is one step ahead of him and knows exactly what he's going to do.
Which makes you wonder again if this is all from the astral plane at this point.
Time's becoming mentally unstable. We should go back.
No. I have to find my family.
Now let's talk about Switch for a minute here. Poor Switch. Like David is just using her to get what he wants and really doesn't really care about her well-being. She's like gonna die at some point.
She's falling
just
apart.
Traveling for him.
Yes, and she's falling apart, and there's a point later in the episode where Charles looks like, who the hell is that? And he's like, oh, never mind, don't worry about that. He doesn't care.
David doesn't care, and also like she thinks that she's fighting for the good side. But like we don't know that, right? She thinks she's under this impression that David is good and he means all these good things, and meanwhile she's being treated like complete trash by him.
Now there's one more scene with Switch. It's very quick where Switch does call out to someone for help, her father. Now she could just be delusional, or is her dad going to try to help her in the next episode? I'm curious to see if he's going to come back around. There's only one episode left here. I don't know.
I would like to see that part tied up because there's so much mystery involving and surrounding Switch and the relationship with her father, who collects all these robots. I would love to see that kind of tied up in what his involvement in is the whole thing. And does he know about the time travel? And is he like, a master of time travel? And can he actually save her and them?
I'm sure she'll have something to do with David's demise or rebirth or whatever we want to call it at the very end with Sid. But Switch, she's got to have something here to do with her father. I just don't know what it is. So time is collapsing in on itself or something like that. We get time jumps.
We knew this was going to happen. This was a possibility when you time travel.
Yes.
Switch warned us.
The Time Eaters are back.
Yep.
And this time, it looks like they're maybe helping out one character, Farouk, our current timeline Shadow King, who's stuck in the time with no time. The
different
Instagram dimension, yeah.
Right.
All right. So he's trapped in there, and it looks like they may be helping him get out.
They kind of surround him, and then we see like a shot of them kind of like hatching out of eggs, I believe. Now, we noticed like these eggs like all throughout the episodes, the seasons.
Yeah.
And it now makes sense kind of like when time is collapsing, when someone's traveling, like these eggs kind of hatch, and then that's when you see all of these time eaters, time demons kind of pop up out of nowhere and overwhelm you. Mm-hmm. But like, he is so strong. I don't know if it was they were helping him or that he's so strong that they don't even mess with him. Kind of like they don't mess with David because they know that he is so strong as well. Like they do mess with the rest of Division 3 throughout the episode.
I took it as another Omega level mutant, just like David. And they're like, all right, we're just going to let you try to get out of here.
He's way too powerful. Like, we're not going to mess with you. We know what you can do. Now, time is so unstable that we even get a flashback. David goes back to the moment when he first met the Shadow King, Amal Farouk version, face to face in season 2. So that was a cool little, throwback to what we saw last season. I don't know if it was maybe the result of that he's going to travel to this specific time when Farouk was, in charge, and it's a kind of like all these visions and these memories are kind of surfacing up to him when he's traveling. But it was a cool little nod back to like when they first met.
To let you know, again, remember the line was, you can do anything, you can build anything. Your mind is a lot bigger.
That's a good point, yeah, because remember, Farouk really empowered David. David was kind of, didn't know exactly what he was doing or who he was, and Farouk kind of gave him...
You're a god.
Yeah, you're a god, and you can do whatever the hell you want. Sometimes to the detriment of David and others around him, though. Now let's talk about Charles and Amal Farouk's first meeting. A lot different here than in the comic books. In the books, remember, we've talked about this before, he's in Cairo, not Morocco, and he basically is walking around the market and then gets pickpocketed by a young Storm. And then he stumbles upon basically a room or a restaurant where he runs into the Shadow King, to Farouk, and then they have the whole fight on the astral plane, which he wins. Yeah, it's much different here. I actually do like this version better. Yeah, you do too, right? The
story is expanding. I love it. It's giving you a little bit more details here. It's the same story. It's still the same feel. It's still going to have the same outcome where they're going to battle in the astral plane. Probably through interpretive dance.
Let's hope so.
I have a feeling I'm going to take a shot in the dark here and say there's going to be at least one more dance number before this series is over. But with that said, it's the same feeling. It's the same feeling from the comic they're giving you here. They're not changing too much.
Definitely. But I also like how it played into the personality of Amal Farouk that we've come to learn, right? And Naveed Negahban does an amazing job here.
He is so evil.
But also, remember, this is 30 years in the past or so. So he's a lot more, I would say, like playful, charismatic, like seemingly generous, but he's really not. We know
he's the first mutant. Again, Charles is the first mutant he's met too.
Yeah, and then a conversation. A part of the conversation that I really enjoyed was them talking about how lonely it must be as a mutant and not having anyone else out there that's like you.
Which is what links to Charles going, oh, loneliness. If loneliness creates this kind of monster, maybe I should go out there and look for other mutants who are this lonely and tell them there are others out there, who can be your friends.
Right.
And so you don't end up the same way as a Shadow King. I wonder if he'll do something like that. Is there a reason?
I think he might do
like
something.
A school or something?
I think he might start a school for that stuff. But I thought it was spot on, in terms of these mutants thinking that they've gone crazy or they're mad or they belong in a mental hospital, but ultimately they just realize that they have these powers that can be used as good or evil in these cases.
So, David's here.
You should be. We followed them. Carrie?
We should be careful. He could attack at any time.
Now, Sid and the Carries are traveling back in time with David. Unfortunately, they didn't end up in Morocco. They ended up with Gabrielle at her house.
Yeah.
Same time period, though. So they're there at the same time.
Yeah.
Different spots. What I do love is the parallel conflicts they have.
Right.
Sid's trying to get Gabrielle to, teach David, be good,
Yeah.
loving, very good. You got to be very
She's-
nice to this kid.
Remember, she's leading with love that she learned
Yeah.
last episode.
All
from
you need
the
is
Bird
love.
Family. Yeah.
And-
And then David's doing the exact opposite.
Kill.
Yeah. He's promoting violence and he's doing all the bad things. He's trying to get his dad to wipe the Shadow King off the face of the universe, and he wants to even help take a part in that. So, yeah, you're right. Two different kind of conflicting journeys going on, and it pretty much lines up with what we know about Sid and David. They are growing so far apart. And this is a perfect example of the discrepancy between these two characters, right? One that promotes love and has empathy for others, and the other that literally is selfish and narcissistic and will just do whatever he wants to do and believes he's always right.
Okay, now my favorite shot from this season so far, which is still Gabrielle walking out to that door in the middle of the garden, but no one touched it this time, and they all acknowledge it, that it's there. The door's there, you're not crazy. But I wish someone touched it so I can be like, okay, what is it? Where is it? Who put it here? Was it David or the Shadow King? Or is it just the door?
Who knows?
Charles.
Yeah, it still kind of befuddles me exactly what it is and what it's representing. I want to believe that it's maybe the Shadow King kind of messing with Gabrielle and trying to drive her crazy and kind of rattle her while he has his own plan to rattle Charles as well, as playing host. But it's pretty unclear. I mean, if you guys have any ideas, please let us know in the comments what you think that door represented and who was behind the whole thing. But still, a stunning shot. One of the best shots we've seen all season.
End the season, end the series on that shot. Do it. Just have her open the door and then boom.
The X-Men are behind it. Now, a key detail in the show here is that Farouk actually introduces Charles Xavier to the astral plane. That another example of just showing how much power and experience the Shadow King has against Charles. Charles has no clue where he is and what he's doing, and then realizes with his imagination what he can create up there.
Only thing you can interpret from that as the audience is that you know that Charles is extremely powerful, but he may not know that just yet.
Right.
So we'll see how this goes, but obviously it looks like Charles is going to be the one who survives this at the end. But Charles makes a big no-no when he shows his family, when he projects his family into the astral plane. And even though, who knows, Farouk could have already got into his mind.
Yeah, and probably already knows that he has a family back at home.
Still,
why show this stranger, one of your most loved and prized things in life, your family standing right there. Like now Farouk kind of knows his weakness, how to get to him.
You see, you have the power to create reality itself.
Now, my favorite part of the episode has to be the story time, the theater story time with the Shadow King.
I love that's how they got the name Shadow King.
Yes.
They linked it together with literal shadows that he performs for all of them.
Now, the cool thing about those shadows, you'll see the one soldier fighting this devil being, this Shadow King-looking monster.
Yeah.
That's a direct call out to the comics of the origins for Charles Xavier.
Now, again, we hear him say that magic phrase, "You should have never came." Some foreshadowing that it's going to be very bad next episode when the actual battle comes down to it.
Now, this whole sequence, all I can think of was Club Silencio from Mulholland Drive, David Lynch's film, and I just couldn't get that out of my head from beginning to end. I was like, oh, this is totally Club Silencio.
A mutant trumpet.
I mean, it makes total sense from everything we've seen from the show from beginning to end and the influences they've had from Twin Peaks and even Lost Highway, all of David Lynch's work. It's great. On top of that, too, it's not just, the theater scene wasn't just that. There's Astonishing X-Men in 2017. There's also a cool scene where they bring back the Shadow King in that story arc.
Yeah.
Same shot. It's the same thing. The X-Men are trapped within this theater realm, and Xavier's got to save them from the Shadow King. It's pretty cool.
Now let's talk about David coming face to face with his father for their first meetup. Went much better this time than it did the first time.
Yeah, where he knocked him back into his own time.
Yeah. So David sees his dad and tells him not to worry, not to freak out. But yeah, I'm your son from 30 years ago. And I love how they did this. They had him eat the cake, right?
Of knowledge.
He offered him the cake of knowledge, a slice of cake that he eats. And he just, like, all the visual representation, the projections of his entire 30-plus year life, like projected on him, and he basically went through every emotion, visually, mentally, emotionally, went through all of that roller coaster of a lifetime to then realize what his son has been through and the part that he's played in that.
It's so great. This is what makes this show so good, is the fact that they did this in a way where, visually they're telling you the story without having that, Marty, we gotta save your dad, which I love Back to the Future, but I'm just saying in general now everyone does this, where we give you the line, here's what's happening, we gotta get out of here, here are all the characters, you're doing this, I have cancer or something, let's move on, and none of that.
Yeah, there's no lazy filmmaking in this show at all. Like they don't
top
need
to bottom.
They don't need any of that like exposition in a conversation through dialogue. In a matter of seconds, like, you saw it happen.
And we're not going to kill this whatever baby David, which would be so easy.
Physically, not morally.
Because why?
Because he's a baby.
So Sid and Carrie have a conversation about killing baby Hitler again. It's the same story. Like, again, if you killed him, it doesn't matter. A lot of people got to die here to stop the events from taking place in World War II. So that's not going to work. Same thing with David. It's still going to lead to a bad outcome. You can't just kill the kid.
So Sid's idea is to more like shower him with love, like kind of like send him on the right path,
Sure.
And then she's trying to promote all that, be good. Gabrielle needs to be a good mother, and maybe they don't put him up for adoption, and they don't, he doesn't like kind of lose his way. They just keep him in a loving family and try to make sure that he doesn't turn to the dark side, so to speak. And again, this just reaffirms the mindset that Sid is in, right? She's leading with love. She learned so much from her second life, with the bird family in the astral plane, that she's no matter if she doesn't agree with the other person's opinion or perspective or what they're going through, she's going to try to love first, right? Instead of the violent side, which is what David is doing basically every single episode.
Is love.
Now Charles does a little bit of a no-no. He invites David to dinner without an invite.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that scene. Just David walks straight
The ball's
in there.
on Charles just to invite him to dinner.
And Farouk's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, Farouk didn't know who he is or exactly why he's there, right? But he did sense some eerie, like, what's going on here? He's a little bit suspicious of this.
And he tries to get into his mind, and of course he's blocked by Captain Sensible's Watt.
And we've heard this song before, actually. In episode 3, we hear this playing when they're having visions. His parents, Gabrielle and Charles, are having visions of Charles and his commune and everyone kind of partying and getting high together. So we know that David kind of uses this tune maybe as a defense mechanism or as some sort of, some protection, a layer of protection for him.
Yeah, I think it's just to show the audience that this is how he's blocking him.
Right.
He's blocking his mind.
Yeah. They didn't use any type of animation. They just play some music, and you can't really hear what my thoughts, what I'm thinking.
Yes. Now back to Charles and David. Charles already met David, but now he gets to meet Legion. So I love that sequence where the doors are slammed shut and they're banging on all the doors. Then finally, just one by one, they come out. This show. I mean, I don't know what else you can do.
And then it reveals, how out of control David is, and that he is not in control of his own mind. I mean, which personality will take over? How many of his personalities will take over? Like David he's acting the certain way that he thinks he should be acting, but at any point he could lose control, and one of these other Davids can just pop in. Legion is many. He's extremely powerful, and this is what makes him so scary. And
Charles is learning there are two monsters here.
Yeah.
He's got to deal with at this timeline. And so I just can't wait to see how this ends up, because at the end of the day, what's he going to do? Is he going to save his son, or is he going to destroy all of Legion? And then we're off from there, but we'll see.
Charles, come home.
I will say this, though, about the whole thing with all of Legion. There's another show that did this very damn well, what I was surprised with, too, was Doom Patrol with Crazy Jane. Her character has the same thing, split personality, so they're all battling to get to the top, and they have a really cool sequence, which I'm not going to spoil for anyone, to show how they jump into her body, to jump into her mind each and every time. It's pretty damn cool. So I will say that Doom Patrol, give it a shot if you haven't seen it yet, and that's my plug for Doom Patrol.
I also noticed how all the different David personalities were calling out to their dad, Daddy, Daddy. It sounded eerily similar to how all of the girls in the commune were calling out to David when he was, getting them all high and making them feel good. The relationship between them is obviously they're dependent on, their leader. They're also extremely revengeful, and they want some vengeance on him, and they're kind of jealous of him, and really just want him to kind of fix what they believe Charles messed up.
So as we said earlier, time is collapsing in on itself, or something's happening with the Time Eaters as they're coming out in a frenzy at this point, almost like a MacGuffin they're using here as we got to get to this thing before it all ends. So, okay, cool, sure, I'll take that as my MacGuffin. There's no countdown clock. There's no giant beam coming out of the, the planet into the sky, and they have to stop it. Nothing like that. I'm happy.
They're just worried about all of history basically
cool.
ending.
Sure, series finale. You got to have some kind of MacGuffin. I'm fine with this one.
Visually, it looked crazy to see the Xavier house kind of
falling apart when they're
basically
coming after David,
getting stripped of all of its attributes, and all everything was just falling apart. And then finally we see Sid hit one of them over the head with the axe. She got one time demon. There's a handful out there, so watch out. We see like a bunch coming out of that furnace. So they basically they're on the clock. I know there's no specific clock counting down, but if they take too much time, then time as we know will cease to exist.
Also have Charles. He's now face to face with the Shadow King. He knows something's up. He's talked to the little monkey and figured out the monkey actually has the soul of the former king, we assume.
Yeah.
And on top of that, because the Shadow King's he's a great guy, he took the souls of all of his followers and put them in the children.
What a horrible person.
Now that is some evil flexing I haven't seen in a long time.
They're basically prisoners for eternity inside of these
that is
minds,
evil.
inside of a monkey, inside of these subjects, inside these kids.
He could have killed them.
He
could have just killed them. No. He wants them to live eternally.
Imprisoned in these people.
Wow.
That sounds horrible. And you know what? It's a very significant part, because at this point, Charles realizes that, hey, this is not the guy he's been presenting himself to me as. He's much more evil. And then then he hears a story about what David has to say, so he puts all that kind of together and realizes, okay, I need to do something now.
And I can't wait to figure out what it is.
Yeah. My one question to you: is young Storm in this house somewhere?
Is that young Storm? It better be.
Was that actress young Storm?
I hope when the dust settles and he just he looks over and he sees the little girl. He grabs a little lightning out of the eyes. Just anything. No. Don't do that.
They won't go that far.
No.
But it'll be a fun little Easter egg.
That's stupid.
It's a fun little Easter egg. How about this? You and I believe that's young Storm. Here on out.
Okay.
That's young Storm.
We'll just go with that, because I don't think they're going to go any farther than that. I don't think they're going to have a little no. Okay. This show's too smart to do that.
If she goes outside next episode and it starts raining, then I'm sold. If it starts raining, then I'm sold.
Well, the Shadow King brought up thunder. He said, "Did you hear the thunder outside?" And the little girls are running. So there you go. Okay, that's as close as we're we want some X-Men ties here, but we know this show's not going to give us what we want in the same form as a character. Here they are. Yeah. Hint, hint. That's not happening.
Previously on X-Men.
Series finale's next week, and we only have so much time left. I wish this was 2 hours.
Yeah, me too.
It's not. So we're going to have to spend our time, a lot of it, with David, Charles, and Farouk, which is what I want. That's all I want. Yeah. I love Sid. I want some scenes with Sid, too. I know she's going to probably be the downfall for David. It's looking to go that way.
Yeah.
There's no other way around that. Switch is going to have something to do with this as well, bringing them back into time. I hope she doesn't die. But again, it has to be with Charles and David and Farouk. That's all I want.
Right, and let's talk about how this episode wrapped up. The Carries were kind of frozen in time.
Yes.
Sucks, that's horrible. I don't know how they can get out of that, but we do see in the preview for next week that they're back, so we know they do survive somehow. And then also, Farouk gets out, the younger version of Farouk, present-day Farouk, I'll say. He actually gets out of that dimension that in between time and space.
And what is he going to do?
And he is there to basically, it looks like it's there to help the...
I don't think that's the twist here. Is he going to help the older Farouk?
Because right now,
is there a twist?
2 versus 2 right now. My money is on the two Shadow Kings versus
David and Charles.
David and Charles.
Listen.
At first I was like,
it's
okay,
gonna be amazing.
At first I was like 2 versus 1. Charles and David can easily wipe out the Shadow King, and as soon as the Shadow King was able to then find his other self in the dimension, I mean, that was some wild shit.
Interesting.
But I do have one question, Greg. How the hell did the Shadow King get him from the dimension to that day? Like, everyone else had to time travel. David had to time
did he
travel.
know?
Division 3 had to time travel.
Like,
He's just able to pull him out of a
search.
painting?
He had to find him. Omega level mutant. That's the only thing I could tell.
Because comic books. That's the only reason.
It's a comic book.
Yeah, it's a comic book. Okay, guys, let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Any theories, predictions for the series finale. I can't believe it's the series
I
finale.
really think we'll end with Sid singing "All You Need Is Love," but we'll see. All right.
See you guys then.
Bye-bye.